The Active in Tech podcast is about how health and fitness are more important than ever in this modern world. Computer screens, new technologies, and the chronic stress we face in our lives and our jobs make being active a necessity for health and happiness. I'll be interviewing business owners, athletes, and modern-day superheroes who have chosen to take control of their health. We'll dive deeper into the benefits they notice from being active, how they stay active despite the stressors of the modern world, and some tips and tricks they use to be successful in their lives. In this episode, I'm joined by Erica Rankin, CEO and founder of Brodo, a better-for-you snack company. Erica is an entrepreneur. Her superpowers are grit and vulnerability. She's also launched Grow with Erica, helping individuals build their personal brands on platforms like LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. Erica, thank you. Thanks a lot for being here. I really like the idea of Brodo because for me, I don't like to give up. Like, I know some like treats and stuff aren't necessarily that good for me, but I don't want to completely give them up. And it's nice to have like this alternative that you don't have to feel bad about. So I guess I'm just going to jump right into it. So as founder of Brodo, how has that journey been? Have there been difficulties that you've faced?
Totally. So I launched the company in December of 2019, so like 3 months before the pandemic. No prior business experience, just dove right into it. Everything I learned was from others, through mentors, through Googling, through YouTube. I guess it's always going to be difficult when you set out to do something that is completely new. I think like the biggest challenge for me was letting go of pieces of the company as I grew it. I was a one-woman show for basically 2.5 years and did the manufacturing. I went to a commercial kitchen, made the product, picked the product, packed the product, marketed the product, did everything. And obviously, you can't really scale a company that way. So I think one of the biggest challenges was bringing in people and I guess getting out of the founder syndrome state.
Right. Yeah, that's got to be difficult, especially doing everything yourself. And speaking of kind of doing everything in yourself, did you ever find it difficult in terms of time for yourself and your health while you were on this journey of building Brodo?
Yeah, that was one thing that I really struggled with for the first, 2.5 years. All that time that I was working by myself on the company, I fell into the trap of hustle culture and I thought, oh, I don't have time for myself. I shouldn't be, taking breaks for walks or meals, or I should be staying in on the weekends with my head down working, and totally neglected myself throughout that whole process and fell into old disordered behaviors because I did previously have issues around food and the dieting and my weight and stuff. And the business kind of brought all of that back just because I was so, I guess, knees deep in the day to day operations. I didn't really take the time to check in with myself. And obviously, if you don't do that, then things can kind of just snowball. And then I hit a wall and struggled there. And now I feel like I'm finally in like a balanced, happy place, but it wasn't always like that at the beginning.
Yeah, so I think balance is a huge thing, so I'd like to talk a little bit more about that if that's okay. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is because you're really successful now, but also from a health and fitness side, I found out that you used to be a bodybuilder. Um, and so that transition is really interesting to me, and so I'd like to hear a little bit more about how you started off bodybuilding, why you wanted to do that, and kind of what happened with that.
So I guess, yeah, I'll be super honest. I went through a breakup when I was like 19. I was in university, maybe I was 18, and I turned to fitness. So I would go to the gym and just like run, and that's how I coped. And I'm a very all or nothing person, which can be good and bad. And when I do something, I want to do something all the way and challenge myself and do the absolute best that I can at it. So I decided, okay, like I'm getting into fitness, I'm like working out, how can I take this further? And I decided to compete in bodybuilding. So I found a coach. I prepped for about a year and a half. It's a very intense process for like those of you who maybe haven't done it or don't really know much about it, like you have to diet and weigh all your food. You have to eat certain things. You have to exercise certain times of the days for certain durations and do certain workouts and drink a certain amount of fluids and take your supplements and all of that. So I did that for a year and a half. I was very strict. And I competed. I did my 2 shows. And then after that, I just felt so lost and I felt like I had no purpose. I was working a job that I was really unhappy at. And then I was doing 2 part-time jobs on the side. And I really enjoy the process of working towards something. I always have to have something that I'm doing and I can see a finish line. And when I cross that finish line, I looked around and I thought, okay, what now? Do I want to continue doing this? And I thought I did. So I went traveling and I thought, okay, like maybe I can come home and prep for my next show. And on my trip, when I went away, I went backpacking through Southeast Asia and I met entrepreneurs on that trip. And then I decided, okay, like maybe bodybuilding isn't for me. Like I fell into, like disordered eating and all these body image issues after I competed. And I didn't want to go down that road again. I wanted to kind of fix myself and be happy with the way that I am. And try something new. And I thought, okay, this could be my new thing that I work towards. And, it's, I guess, quote unquote, healthier for me. And that's when I decided to pursue entrepreneurship when I got home.
Wow, yeah, that's a really interesting story. So it sounds like bodybuilding was not sustainable for you at all. It's not something you could see yourself doing for the long term, and in terms of health, it seems kind of like it was a negative thing for you. It wasn't balanced. And I know, like for me, like this health journey is like it's all about the process. There's not, I mean, I have goals, but like I know it's going to take my whole life, and it's to increase my well-being and increase like my happiness and all this stuff throughout life. But it seems like I know bodybuilding can be great for some people. My brother, he's a bodybuilder and he loves it. He wants to get better every show. But I don't know how sustainable it is for some people. So it sounds like you kind of faced an extreme in terms of like health and what you were eating maybe. And then, so when you were bodybuilding, you were measuring your food and weighing your food. And then like after you stopped bodybuilding, did you notice, what happened after that? Were you able to just jump right back into like a more healthy lifestyle, or did you struggle with that?
It was probably the worst time in my life. And I personally, I don't think the sport is very sustainable and healthy for like the average person. And for me, like you're dieting for some people diet for years, right? Or they keep competing and then they take maybe like a month or two off and they go right back into it's called prep, right? And so I
Mm-hmm.
dieted down. I was very tiny. I'm a tall person. I'm almost 6 feet tall, and I was like 120 something pounds. And I would get super out of breath when I was doing cardio. Like I used to be able to go up the stairs at work, and it was a struggle. And I had to like start taking the elevator. And while I looked peak, they call it peak week, I looked really great. I didn't feel really great, and I wasn't healthy, right? And after the show, you can't just go and start binging and eating and doing all the things that you used to do like a year ago or 6 months ago prior to prepping for the show, because your body will go into shock and it doesn't know what's happening. You have to gradually get back there, and they call that reverse dieting. So it's like, okay, you'll add in 15 grams of carbs every day or whatever it is, and then slowly incrementally. But once you get a taste of that donut when you hop off stage, or a cookie or whatever it is, you're like, oh, I haven't had sugar in so long. And your body's just like, it's like a warm hug. And then you start eating, and then you go out with friends, and then now you're back like having a social life, and you go out drinking. Like I remember I went out with my mom for sangria. We had one pitcher, and I think I maybe had 3 glasses, and I had to go home and lie down. I was like, Mom, I'm not okay. I need to go lie down, because I hadn't drank in like a year and a half, and I was tiny, right? Like there wasn't any meat on my bones. And then I ended up gaining like 25 pounds over the span of like 3 weeks or something crazy. Some of it was water weight, obviously, but I was just, I couldn't eat one cookie. I had to eat 10. I couldn't eat one donut. I had to have a whole box. and I couldn't control myself. And when your clothes aren't fitting and you go from looking the best to feeling the worst and looking a lot different in such a short amount of time, it's really hard on you mentally. And then also you're thinking, wow, like I was posting and everyone was seeing this version of me, and now they're going to look at me and be like, what happened, right? And that was one thing I really struggled with, is I thought that people would think less of me and felt like I couldn't control myself or I wasn't self-disciplined, but that really wasn't what it was. I just was not mentally handling it well, and it wasn't something that was sustainable for me. And I thought the cure to that was, oh, I'll just go into another show again and I'll start prepping. And I tried to do that, and my body just wasn't reacting the way that it wanted, like we wanted it to. It wasn't responding, and I was holding weight, and we kept chipping away and taking away more and more food, but you can't really do that, right? So, yeah.
Hmm. Right. Wow. That's really, I mean, that says so much, I feel like, about, sustainability and mental health. I mean, that's got to have a huge effect on your mental health. Especially afterwards, seeing yourself gain all this weight, and gaining that much weight quickly is obviously not good for your heart. Your heart was already, it sounds like your heart was already not in the best condition from dieting.
Hmm.
So it does sound like it's pretty unhealthy for your mind and body, if you're doing something that unsustainable. And that's kind of interesting because, with I feel like with Brodo, you must have had like something in the back of your mind that had to do kind of with like your experiences, because with Brodo, it's a healthier version, and you it's not like eating like 20 donuts or whatever, but it's still good to treat yourself. So I feel it was that kind of, that past experience you had, did that have something to do with Brodo?
That's where it came from. I used to make this product for myself. So, obviously, again, when
Mm-hmm.
you're competing, you can't eat the regular thing. So, I would just try to manipulate my favorite sweets and make them healthier and make them fit into my diet. And one of the things that I made
Mm-hmm.
was like these protein cookie dough bites, and they had like less sugar, added protein. I started posting those on Instagram and sharing my recipes. I had an Instagram account called Erica Foodie at the time, and I did pretty well with it. And a lot of people would recreate my recipes and tag me. It was really cool, and people would ask me if I would ever sell the stuff that I made, and I never thought anything of it. And then after, when I got back from my trip, after meeting entrepreneurs, I sat down with myself and thought, okay, like what is something that I'm passionate about? I really love food. I love health and wellness. And what does the market need? Well, here in Canada, we don't really have that many options for like healthier snacks. And like in 2019 when I launched it. And so I thought, okay, like let's launch this protein cookie dough and let's call it Brodo, and I'll package it and sell it, and we'll just roll with it. And so I think, moral of the story is I did have something really good come out of that experience when I did compete. Had I not competed, I don't think I would have the business that I have now. I don't know what my path would have looked like or where I would be now, but I don't think it would be exactly here.
That's awesome. Yeah, that kind of, shows, from pain you can find purpose. Whether it's directly or indirectly. I think that's really cool, and it all kind of makes more sense to me too. Your journey and how you kind of got to where you are now. Um, so you did bodybuilding. You became an entrepreneur. Did you experience a little? Did you experience health issues when you started off on your journey towards entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I wasn't like fully, so I started doing therapy to like help with just like the mental piece of body image, because I was still dieting. I still had a coach, and I would do check-ins every week with him and weigh myself, and I still tracked all my food. And then I tried doing like this really extreme mental toughness challenge called 75 Hard. And like, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it is like you have to work
No.
out twice a day for 45 minutes. One of them has to be outside. You have to like stick to a diet. You can't have cheats. You can't drink. And I'm so extreme. I thought, oh, this would be good for me. And while there were pieces of it that were really good, like you have to read 10 pages a day, you have to drink a gallon of water, all of that stuff was good. And I was doing well with that. And I think I was like 35 days in or something. And then I like relapsed into bulimia pretty badly. And I had a therapist and I went to her and I said, yeah, I was doing this challenge. And she's like, I don't think this is a sign, like you need to stop. This is not healthy for you. And I think too, when you feel, for me personally, when I feel out of control in so many aspects of my life, and being an entrepreneur, you don't have control over a lot of things, right? Like every day there's something that happens. That was something that I just had to get used to. I wasn't used to it at all, and there would be things that would go wrong, and the only control that I had was like over what I put in my body and the amount of exercise I did, and so I took that extreme too far again, and then it unraveled in an unhealthy way. So I guess, yeah, I was struggling a lot with many things. And it's hard too when you're the only person running your business and operating your business and you're dealing with all of these issues. Like there were days when I just didn't want to wake up. I'd be in bed, or I had like a really bad like episode like the night before and just felt horrible, but I still had to go up, get to the kitchen, make the product. And I have a food company, so I'm surrounded by food, which is like the most ironic part. If you have a horrible relationship with food and then you have a food company, like I had a full out freezer in my living room full of cookie dough all the time, and there'd be times where I'd just be like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna eat a jar. So just, take a jar out, sit on my couch, eat a whole jar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, that brings another element that I didn't really consider into it. So then so how did you end up finding balance? How did you end up becoming a healthier version of yourself?
I'm like still not fully there, but I would say I'm like a lot better than I was. I mean, I didn't think I was honestly gonna make it, like with the business or even myself. I was like in some really dark places, and especially during the pandemic, like I got a cat because I was like, I need something with me in my place because I was just alone and isolated, and I didn't really have any friends who understood what I was going through, and that's really hard too. But I think just like opening up myself and allowing myself to like seek out help, get professional help, that like really helped me. And then I listened to a lot of podcasts, and now I have non-negotiables like every day. It's like, okay, I need to do things that take care of me and fill my cup so I can, fill others and contribute and show up for my business, right? You can't show up for others and whatever you're doing if you're not showing up for yourself. So now it's like, okay, I wake up, I have my 45-minute workout that I do. I don't check my phone. I have breakfast. I take a break in the middle of the day, go for a walk. I have a lunch, practicing mindfulness, journaling. Again, I don't do all of this perfectly. It's not like at 6:15 I journal, at 8 I meditate, whatever. It's kind
Mm,
of I make it work for my day and like what works for me. But I
yeah.
think just yeah, just taking care of myself and just being very present and recognizing when I start to slip into old behaviors. And for example, like yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
I was like really struggling. And I just messaged my best friend and I was like, hey, I just wanted to like send you a message and tell you what's happening and like would love to catch up. And that was something I really struggled with before because I held a lot of shame around the issues that I was facing. And now I have people that I can go to who
Mm-hmm.
can support me and they know what's going on, and vice versa. Like I can help them and support them. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, there's so many pieces you mentioned right there that go into, a healthy, happy lifestyle, and community is, I think, a huge one. And especially in this like virtual world, it's kind of harder to make those connections. So if you're able to make closer, connections, I think that can be super helpful. So what is your diet like nowadays? Because I know when you're bodybuilding, you're weighing the foods. You had even told me you used to like weigh vegetables, and that that just sounds
It was crazy.
unsustainable.
I would track the gum that I ate. Like it was insane. And I brought a scale to our Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners, and like with my family, and I have
Wow.
my scale
Yeah.
on my plate, and I would go out for dinner with my friends, and I wouldn't eat. I would just have a Diet Coke, and I'd be like, "Oh, I had my meal prep before I came here, or I'll have it when I get home." And they'd look at me like I had five heads, and I thought it was totally normal at the time, but It's the life of a bodybuilder. But yeah, so I guess now I don't have a scale. I got rid of my scale. I don't weigh anything. I don't weigh myself. I just take like an 80/20 approach. So I just try to have whole foods. And then I want to like, still enjoy things and treat myself. If I'm craving something, like for example, last night I'm like, I really want just like real ice cream. Like, I don't want the low calorie stuff. I want like actual ice cream. So I'll have like a little bit in a bowl. So I give myself permission to like have those things, but then also like, have my vegetables and have my protein and make sure that I'm eating like full balanced meals with like protein, carbs, and fats. Just because I know if I don't do that and if I'm snacking all day or I skip meals or whatever, it's just going to end with me at the end of the day being like so hungry and rummaging through the cupboards and eating a bunch of things and just feeling like crap. And then I can't perform my best. And then I have a crappy workout the next day. And I think what has really helped me is thinking
Yeah.
about how I feel after I eat something. It's like, okay, like I could eat this. This is there for me, but how am I going to feel after I eat it? And how is that going to affect my performance after the fact, right? So that helps
Hmm.
too. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah. No, that, and I feel like your whole, your mindset is obviously a lot different than it was when you were weighing the food. And I feel like when you eat relatively healthy and you feel good, your body craves healthier food. And that's something that I think a lot of people aren't able to do is they think so like short term. Like I'm gonna eat this because it tastes good, not I'm going to eat this because it's gonna help me perform better. It's gonna help me get healthier, whatever. Um, so yeah, I love the 80/20 approach too because for me, I'm not someone who can do the like I've tried like the keto diet before, but I struggle with it because I can't have those things I love. I mean, it's not like you just stop craving like a donut or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think it's important to do whatever works for you. That's totally the most important thing. Because if it's not sustainable, you're not going to continue to do it. And then I know so many people that they diet, they lose, if their goal is to lose weight, they lose the weight, but then they stop doing the diet because it's not sustainable. And then kind of like you said, they just, after a bodybuilding, it's almost like after a bodybuilding competition, they just eat all this food and then they're heavier than their weight was to begin with, and they've screwed up their metabolism, and it just, and then you get the mental effects from that, and it's kind of this snowball effect. So I do like the 80/20 approach. So my question for you is, what advice would you give someone who is an entrepreneur or just starting that journey, someone who's super busy that wants to get healthier but doesn't know where to start?
I think, yeah, finding out like I think it all comes down to mindfulness and not doing what everyone else is doing. Like, for example, when I first got into fitness, everyone was doing like those hit body workout things. I don't know, the exercises. I forget, like BBG workouts or whatever it was. And I hated them. I hated them so much. And they were just like circuit training. Like, there wasn't weights, it was just all body weight. I did them, but I hated them, and it made me have such a horrible relationship with exercise. So, figuring out what you enjoy in terms of exercise, like I used to be into heavy weightlifting. I spent so much time in the gym, and I started to really hate the gym. It wasn't like my safe place anymore. It was very stressful for me, and I was always like looking at my body and looking at other people and now I go to workout classes. That's like right around the corner from where I live, and do yoga and do different types of exercises just to like get my body moving. And I think that has really helped me rather than forcing myself to do something that I hate. It's more so figuring out what I want to do that I enjoy and not focus on like how it's going to make my body look rather than how it's going to make me feel. So having that and then implementing that into your daily schedules and having that non-negotiable, right? Like maybe it's every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday you go to a workout class or you do CrossFit or whatever it may be. Um, and then like practicing gratitude, because I think you have physical health and then you have mental health as well, and I think that's really important, especially if you're pursuing entrepreneurship, because you can get so lost in like the day to day, and everything can be going wrong and you can forget all of the good things that have happened, and we tend to really focus on what's going wrong all the time and never really appreciate what's gone right for us. So just documenting that, having that there, and um, yeah, eating the right things, taking breaks, checking in with yourself, and those are the things that I think make a huge difference.
Yeah, I think that's some really great advice. As you know, and then when it comes to the fitness or the working out part of it, yeah, if you don't enjoy it at all, or if it's horrible, you're not going to keep doing it.
Hmm.
So I think, some people. I'm really big on the weightlifting because I think it increases your longevity and whatever. But I think if you absolutely hate it, it's like find something else you can do to still get into activity. If you enjoy running, run. If you want to hike, like do that. Do whatever you enjoy. And I think yeah, the especially in entrepreneurship, the mental part of it is so difficult. Like I'm kind of just getting started on my journey, and you tend to, like you said, you tend to think of all the bad things that happen, and it's hard to remember the good things or think about the good things. But for me, like, right when I wake up in the morning, I think it's, if you want, to start your day in a good mental state, to, like you said, have that gratitude. Think of all the things that are going well. Think of how much better off you are than a lot of people out there. So I think that's important too. That's some great advice. Um, so I have just a few more questions for you. I could talk with you about bodybuilding all day long because I find it so interesting. But uh, we won't go there. Um, I guess my next question is, can I ask you what your diet's like? I kind of already did. Okay. So you're doing you're founder of Brodo. You're doing that, and now you've also been doing helping people build their brand on different social medias. So, I found you on LinkedIn, and your journey has been inspiring to me and a lot of other people. And so, I'm wondering, what about this that you're doing on LinkedIn, your content focus, what keeps you coming back every day?
It's a platform that started out, like when I first started posting on LinkedIn, it was more so as a way to express myself and be an outlet, but also to showcase what entrepreneurship is really like. So I remember when I got on there in 2020 and was doing endless amounts of scrolling, and I wasn't able to find anyone who was in my situation who I could relate to. Everything was very shiny, and so I started posting, like, like picking and packing orders in my car, and, making dough in the kitchen, and, the crazy startup stuff. And then in doing that, it's built this community that I never really intended to build. And so part of me continues to show up just for them in a way, because I know there's so many people out there that are starting their journey, and they're curious about entrepreneurship and they want to know what it's really like, and or they're in year one or year two of building their food company, and I share a lot of mistakes that I made and experiences and learnings from my past, like with building Brodo, and I think that adds a lot of value. And I really wish that there were more people doing that back in 2020 when I first started my journey. And I could have there's a lot of mistakes that I made that I think I could have learned from other people's experiences. You can only go on so many calls and ask so many questions and learn so much. I think having it all on social media and like just being available for you to scroll through and learn from is essential. And I think more of us should do that. And then, LinkedIn has added value in other ways. Like I met my mentor on there, my operations advisor, I met him on there. My employee found me on there. Investors have found me on there. There's been a lot of value in that regard with the company. And it's just been a really great place to, network and meet like minded founders. And I'm in a couple creator groups with some really awesome people. And I met my best friend who lives in California through LinkedIn, and we talk pretty regularly, and it feels like, she lives like next to me, but she doesn't. She's in a completely different country. So yeah, it's a really great platform for meeting like-minded people, and then, helping others.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think LinkedIn has been great. That's kind of really the only platform I'm on at the moment, but I do think, yeah, I feel like you're unique in that you don't sugarcoat the entrepreneurship journey. And I haven't really seen that from many other people. You always hear about, I started a business, now I'm making six figures or whatever, and they don't often share the in between part, the part that the difficult part. They just kind of start money, and
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, that's that. It makes it seem like it's a lot more common than it really is. I mean, yeah, there's a struggle for everyone. Nobody just is an overnight success. It takes a while.
Mhm.
And I think, yeah, and that's been encouraging to me because, yeah, I'm in the middle of it right now, and so I before when I was, seeing just all the good parts, sometimes it's discouraging, even though you wouldn't think it is, you wouldn't think it would be because you're not doing as well as these other people. Um, but and you're also inspiring too because you have had success. It just you have to go on the journey. Um, so speaking of success, how do you define success in your life?
For me, success is knowing you gave it your all. That's what I think it is. Like I say, emptying the tank and leaving it all out on the table and putting your best effort into whatever it is you're doing. And that may look differently for different people. The other thing is too is keeping promises to yourself. Like that's a huge one, and this ties into self confidence. That's something that I struggled with a lot for the first few years of having my business. I would say I would do things and then I wouldn't do it, or I would make promises to myself that I wouldn't keep, and it affected my confidence, and then it affected my ability to show up and put in 100% in the day to day stuff with the business. So I guess those are the two things, like keeping promises to myself and then putting 100%, whatever 100% looks like every day. It kind of, some days it could be a little less. Some days you could go hard and everything is great and, you're on top of the world. But yeah, that's what I think.
Cool. No, I like that. And I feel like, yeah, it just feels better when you know you're giving it your best effort.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Cool. So, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share? Or where can people find you? I know they can find you on LinkedIn. You said you also have. Do you still have an Instagram?
Yeah, so I guess our business Instagram is Eat Brodo, and then my personal Instagram is Life of Erica, and the O in of is a zero.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I learned a lot today, and I hope everyone else did too. I think you have some really great advice, and your journey has been really great to follow. You kind of came from a place of struggle, and now I mean, obviously there are still times of struggle, but it seems like you're going in the right direction and you found, balance. You're finding balance. It's all a balancing act. You have to continuously find that balance, but it seems like you're finding balance in your life. And so I'm happy for you and grateful that you were on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Michael.